What's up everybody, it's Drew the Helium Noob. Thanks for checking out the channel. Are you concerned that the temperature of your miner is either too hot or too cold inside its enclosure outside? Well, stick around because today I'm going to show you how to utilize the Helium Network to monitor it. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the alerts, that way you get all the content, and if you truly like it, please give me a thumbs up. So lately we've been focusing a lot on how to, getting your miner, putting it into an enclosure, mounting that enclosure outside, upgrading your antenna, things like that. If you still need some help with install, you can go ahead and check out the playlist above, and that'll take you to all my videos that show how to install. Today I want to show you how to utilize an IoT device like this TEKTELIC Smart Room Sensor to not only monitor the temperature inside your enclosure, but also utilize the network at the same time. In order to make this happen, there are three things that we need. The first thing that we're going to need is going to be Helium Network coverage. So before we can connect to any sensors, we need to make sure that where we plan to use the sensors is actually within range of a Helium miner. The second thing that we're going to need is an IoT device or sensor. So in today's case, we're going to use a TEKTELIC Smart Room Sensor. Now this sensor was about $45 plus shipping, and it's considered the base variant. It features an external connector, moisture and leak detection, which you could use this basically to put under your sink, and if it, water spills on it from the sink leaking, it would send out an alert. It has accelerometer and G-force sensors, on-off contact on the side. With the addition of a magnet, you could basically use this how sensors work on the doors and windows for an alarm company. It has light detection, and finally temperature and humidity sensors. Now these sensors are basically what we're after today because that's what we want to monitor in our enclosures. With this sensor, it's programmed to send out the temperature and humidity data once every hour. The other really cool thing that I like about this specific sensor is that the battery life can last up to 10 years. Now, depending on where you're using it and how often you're sending data, you might not always get 10 years out of it, but to be able to almost set it and forget it for a very long time is very appeasing with this sensor. There is a version called the PIR variant. You lose the external connector and then you lose moisture and leak detection, but you would gain motion detection. They put like a photo eye on it, and that costs about $55. It's important to note that these sensors are band specific, so just like the miners, make sure you purchase the one for the correct ISM band you're in, whether that be US 915, EU 68, etc. Now each sensor will come with a set of codes. TEKTELIC puts it right on the bags that the sensors are in, but there's actually 3 different keys on here that you need in order to onboard it onto the Helium console. Now there's several places that you can purchase these. I do have all the links in the description. Finally, we need a Helium console account to onboard the device, set up the decoder, and set up integrations to display the data. Now the Helium console is what connects all the dots and helps move the data from the sensor to the network to the end user. If you do not have a Helium console account, go ahead and check out this video linked above to learn how to set one up. So here we're on my Helium console account, and what we're going to do is we are going to onboard this TEKTELIC device. Now the first thing that you're going to do is on the side of the device there's actually a tab that you need to pull out, and that's what allows the battery to make contact and turn the device on. Once you've done that, we're going to go into Helium console and we're going to select devices. Once we're in devices, we're going to go ahead and select add new device, and that's going to load up the device details. The first thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and name it. So we're going to name this device TEKTELIC Room Sensor, and I'm going to name it 2 because I already have one deployed, and then I'm also going to tag it as YouTube. Okay, now the next 3 items that we're going to need are the dev EUI, the app EUI, and the app key. Now these 3 items can be found with that accompanying sticker with the device that I told you that we were going to need here in a little bit. So what I've done is I've actually already typed those into a notepad so I can copy and paste them. The other way to do it would be to just type them in as you're reading it off the sticker. So let's copy these over. So we got the dev EUI, we got the app EUI, and then we have the app key. Now, once you have those three pieces of information entered for the device details, we're going to go ahead and click Save Device at the bottom. And what that's going to do is that's going to throw it into a pending status. You can see that right here. So what it's doing is it's attempting to onboard the actual device. This, depending on how the network is running, this can take 5 minutes, it can take a couple hours. Just depends on how long the network's taking at this certain time. So that's how that's the first step in onboarding it. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to start connecting some of the dots. So while this is pending, let's move over to setting up a decoder. Now decoders are basically what takes the data packet that is received by the miner, and then it deciphers it into readable text, if you will. So in order to get that set up, we need to go to functions. So over on the left hand side here, let's go into functions. And you can see that I have some other decoders already set up. So what I want to do is I could technically just click the TEKTELIC Smart Room Sensor and reuse that for this instance. But what I want to do is show you guys how to actually set this up. So what you do is similar to adding the device, we're going to add a new function. And first thing we need to do is actually name the function. So let's name the function TEKTELIC Smart Sensor and YouTube again. Okay, and then we're going to select the function type, which is going to be a decoder. And then the format that we're going to select is custom script. Now, this gives you a step 2 box here where we can enter in some code. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to delete what's already in there, and we're going to go out and get the new code for this. So what we can do is we can go to, actually just go to Google search, and let's type in GitHub Helium Decoder. If I can type, there we go. GitHub Helium Decoder. So let's go into the decoders here, and it's going to pull up everything that's kind of already pre-built. So if we look down the list here, we should find TEKTELIC right here. And we're going to click that. And then you're looking for decoder.js. Now this is the code that we want to copy and paste in. So we're going to copy all of this code. And let's go back to our console, and we're going to paste it in step 2. Now once that's pasted in, we can actually scroll down and hit save function. Alright, so now we have the function saved up here. And if we go back to our flows screen, which is over here, you can see some of the other sensors that I already have working here. But basically what we want to do is we want to add first a device. So let's find the one that we just did, and we'll click and drag it down. Okay, and then we want to add our function. So let's add the function that we just made. And then the last thing we need to do is set up an integration. Now there's several different integrations that you can utilize. So let's go over here to the left hand side and click on integrations, and then again add new integration. And this gives you all the pre-built integrations that are available. So for me, what I've used is DIGI-KEY. It's very low code when you're doing it, and it's easier for beginners. Once you get so many devices, they start charging you per device. But I basically want to use DIGI-KEY. So again, hit the add new integration, go to DIGI-KEY, and it's going to ask for enter DIGI-KEY token. So this is a token that comes from DIGI-KEY so that it knows basically how to connect your account. So if I go to my DIGI-KEY, you can see the other 3 sensors that I've had in there already. But what we're going to do is we are going to go up to our profile, and we are going to grab our API token here, and then go back to Helium console and enter in that data token. Now we're also going to need to put in here a name. So let's name this TEKTELIC Smart Sensor, and we'll name it YouTube as well. So we're going to add that integration. Okay, so let's jump back over to our flow screen, and now we can add our integration of TEKTELIC Smart Sensor. So we'll click and drag that down, and then from there all we have to do is click the little dot there, click and hold it and connect it to that dot, and do the same here to that dot. Now these three things are all connected. So we have the sensor, you have the decoder, and then you have your integration. Okay. One last thing that we need to do here is if we go over to DIGI-KEY, now that we have the integration set up, we actually need to add the device to DIGI-KEY. So over on the right hand side, again, you'll have to sign up for an account, add device, and I'm going to do a new product from a template, and then I'm going to search TEKTELIC, and it pulls up right there as the Smart Room Sensor. Now if we click that and hit next, it's now going to ask what network server are you deploying this device on, and we're deploying it on Helium. So we're going to check Helium, hit next, and then we need to also copy and paste the dev EUI from the sensor into this box right here. So let's go over and grab the dev EUI for that sensor, paste it, and then let's name it again, TEKTELIC Smart Sensor YouTube, and hit next. Now if you only have like one device, you can do a free account. I have multiple devices, so I need to choose a plan. Under light, it's one month data retention, 1,000 data points per day. You can cancel anytime, and it's $1 a month per device. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to ask me for payment, so you put your payment information in. We're going to buy it, and now we've added that sensor to DIGI-KEY. Now unfortunately I had to film this video in two different parts, and basically what ended up happening is as I was filming, my miner actually went down, and my miner is the only one that's within range of this sensor. So it took a little over actually 24 hours for it to come back up and then start collecting data. So that's not the norm, but obviously that can happen depending on your location and where you're deploying your sensor at. So let's jump back over to Helium Console. Now that we have some data that has come in, you'll see the TEKTELIC Room Sensor 2 on YouTube. It does have the little green dot now, and that means that it has received data within the last 24 hours. It's been a couple days actually since I filmed the first half of this video, so I do have about 75 data points now. But let's jump into the sensor. So we jump into the sensor, and what I just kind of wanted to go through with you guys real quick on this is it's going to, obviously over here under packets transferred, it's going to show you all time, 30 days, 7 days, and then last 24 hours. And again, that's the amount of packets that have transferred, and each packet costs 1 DC, 1 data credit. So you can check your balance up at the top right. If you haven't signed up for a Helium Console account yet, and you do, they actually are still giving 10,000 data credits for you to start playing with this kind of stuff. So if you're going to sign up for it and start messing around with it, I suggest that you do it, because eventually that you'll have to buy the data credits to support it, which isn't really all that bad. I mean, $10 gets you basically 1 million data credits at this point, as long as that the price per data credit doesn't change. But if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see your flow section. This is just a recap of the flow screen. It shows you what you have set up. So it shows the sensor, it shows the function / decoder that we've set up for this device, and then it also shows our integration with DIGI-KEY here. It's also going to give you a real-time packet chart. Now again, this sensor is designed to send data every 1 hour. So there's actually no data points on the chart at this point, because we're kind of in the middle of that time frame.
But if you have something that does data more often, or on the hour when it hits, you'll be able to see a data point in here. And then if we scroll down a little bit further, which is what I really want to show you, this shows you all the different data points that were sent to the network. So if you click the little plus button, it'll actually show you like payload size and dev address, port, things like that. But what I thought was cool is when you click on hotspot, and it's going to show you the hotspot that actually picked up the data packet, RSSI, SNR, frequency information, and then of course date and time. So that just kind of gives you an overview of what it actually looks like in the console. Now, if you're looking at this data, you're like, hey, it doesn't make sense because it doesn't show me what the temperature is or anything like that. That's where the integration comes in. So let's jump back over to DataCake, and I'm going to show you guys a few things in DataCake so we can kind of see what the integration piece of it does. So we jump back over to DataCake, and we can actually find the sensor now. So let's click on that, and it's going to pull up the dashboard for the specific device. Now, if you'll notice in here, it does show temperature on the sensor right now, which is 14.8 degrees Celsius. Also shows the humidity and then the battery voltage. And then down here in a chart, it kind of displays that those data points over time. Now, we created this sensor based on a template when we added it to DataCake. So it automatically loads this screen, which is called the legacy dashboard. So what I want to show you is how we set up the rules, and then if you wanted to do a specific dashboard, maybe with other information, I want to show you how to do that real quick while we're on DataCake. That way you guys can kind of see how to use this. But let's say, for example, you want to set up a rule to send you alert. So now, we got our miners deployed. They're in enclosures outside, and we want to know what the temperature is inside the actual enclosure. So we can click on rules, right? And it's going to, basically set up an alert. So if we go to rules, we don't have anything set up yet. So we add a rule, and it's going to give you basically an if-then statement and conditions. First thing you want to do is actually name it. So let's name it temperature alert. And, as far as temperature goes in the enclosure, I think it's important to know, you want to be alerted if it hits if it's too hot or if it's too cold. So, basically what we can do is we can say if, and then if you click on this where it says please choose, the way that you read this is, if the current value for temperature on the TEKTELIC Smart Sensor YouTube is equal to let's say we want to know when it goes above 70. So 70 degrees Fahrenheit is about 20 degrees Celsius. So if we want to know when it goes above 70 degrees Fahrenheit, we would put 20 in for Celsius, and then what do we want it to do? So if the temperature goes, or I should say if the temperature is larger than 20 degrees Celsius, then I want you to send me an email letting me know that the temperature is that high. So what's kind of cool about the alert here is, of course, we can put in an email address. A trick that I picked up on a Zoom call I was on with some other guys that are deploying sensors. I kind of picked the trick up. It reminded me that you can actually use the email to text for a lot of the cell phone carriers. So, for example, AT&T, you could put in your phone number. I'm going to put in a fake phone number, but you put in your phone number and do at txt.att.net, and let's name this temperature alert, and temperature is higher than 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Then what you do is, as far as perform these actions at most once every 60 seconds, you can leave that alone. And then you're going to want to check retriggering. And what that's going to allow that to do is it's going to allow it, a minimum of 60 seconds, it'll re-trigger that alert on an ongoing basis until you take action. So let's create that rule. And then basically what that would do is that's going to send us an alert should the temperature go above 70 degrees. We could simply add another rule for say if we want to go less than, if it drops below 0 that we want, an alert, or basically whatever you want to do. The other cool one that we can do is we can add a rule, and let's say if the current value of the battery voltage is less than or equal to 0.5 volts, then I want you to alert me as well. And then we could do the same thing. It's text.att.net, subject battery voltage, and then we put battery voltage is less than 0.5 volts. And then again, we could allow that to retrigger, hit create rule, and we gotta name it, so let's name it battery voltage. And now we're gonna get an alert to our phone if the battery voltage, or should say when the battery voltage basically hits half a volt, and then that's when you would know, hey, I got to keep an eye on this so I can switch out my my batteries on the actual sensor. So that's kind of how alerts work. The other thing I want to point out to you guys, again, legacy dashboard, because we built on a template, is going to have some default data points in there. If we go to dashboard, this is what's kind of cool. So if you're kind of starting a business, or if you're doing some kind of business with this, or you just want to have access to, say, a dashboard remotely, so you don't have to log in DIGI-KEY every time, what you can do is just go to the dashboard, and then this is what I was talking about with DIGI-KEY being low code. You can actually turn on the editor over here on the right hand side, and you can add widgets. So we can make our own dashboard, if you will. So let's add a value for, look at basics. So in English, we're going to call it battery voltage. And we can actually delete any type of translation. It's just going to translate it to a different language. So we'll leave it in English, hit save, and that kind of pops up here. Now if you ever need to edit it, then obviously you click this little edit button here. And let's actually give it some data points to look at. So if you click on data, the field we want to look at is going to be battery voltage. Units is going to be volts. And 2 decimal places is fine. Appearance, I don't know, we like orange. Let's put orange in there. Okay, and let's give it a barcode for, whatever. You put in whatever you want in here, but at that point, then you can hit save, and it actually pops up here. Now you can change the size of this. We can add additional, data points, whatever you want to see. But then what I want you guys to do is go ahead and turn the editor off to make sure that it saves it. And then let's turn it back on real quick, and I'll show you one more cool trick here. If we go to public link, and we click on public link, it's going to say, hey, let's create a public link to this dashboard. Okay, so we can click it. You have to give it a password, so let's just say we're going to name it YouTube, or the password we're going to say is YouTube, mode read only, right? So let's create the public link, and it's going to populate this link here. Now, I'm going to save it real quick, and then what we can do is you can actually copy this, and then open up another browser tab. And if you paste that link, it's actually going to pull this dashboard up online. So you have to put your password in. So we did the password as YouTube. Let's unlock the dashboard. And now it shows us what we just created. So if you wanted to create a dashboard for a customer, if you're a plumber and you want to do some kind of temperature detection in the basement, or whatever your business use case would be, this would be a way to be able to display those your dashboard to your end user, your customer. So that's kind of cool. So really the very last thing to do, guys, is to just basically take that sensor and mount it somewhere inside your enclosure. Once you do that, then you can monitor your temperature, your humidity. One of the biggest questions I get on my installation videos is, aren't you worried about the temperature in your enclosure? And the answer, of course, is yes. We want to make sure we're not too hot or we're not too cold. But the challenge for me, like in my case, is I have the Rack V2 and I also have Get Minted. And those two devices don't have a dashboard with these data points. So this is a good way to be able to monitor that, and then also utilize or learn how to utilize the Helium Network as it was intended to be used. So I want to thank you guys again for checking out the channel. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Turn on the alerts. I'm going to be doing some more videos on some more sensors I just got in. I have a door sensor, and I also have a leak sensor for wet areas. So make sure you hit that alert button. That way you get all the content as I release it. And then if you did truly like the video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up for me. It helps out with the algorithm, and it gets us in front of more people so more people can learn how to do this stuff. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop me a line. Be more than happy to answer and help you guys along. We'll catch you on the next one.